All right, so let's try some examples based on what we just talked about. So we're going to do ratio tables. Remember, you're always starting with the very first amount. That's where everything is originating from. So you can't start from anything that you get after this. So let's say they're saying for every 1 pen, there's 3 pencils. So now they're saying if there's 2 pens, how many pencils are there? So to get from 1 to 2, remember you're either multiplying or you're dividing. So in this case, you would be multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply the bottom number by 2, and I get 6. That means if you doubled it, there'd be 2 pens and 6 pencils. Now they're giving us a number here, and they want us to find the missing number. So again, you're going back to the original. So how would I get from 3 to 9? I'm multiplying by 3. Okay, so go back to the original and do the same thing. Multiply it by 3. So once you figure out the trick, you do the same thing to the other number. So that's going to give me 3. So for every 3 pens, there would be 9 pencils. So this is called using a ratio table. Let's try part B. For every 4 dogs, there's 6 cats. So they're saying if there are 12 cats, how many dogs would there be? So to get from 6 to 12, you would multiply by 2. So that means you're going to take the top number and multiply it by 2. So that means if there were 12 cats, there would be 8 dogs. All right, let's try this one. They're saying if there's 24 dogs, how many cats? Don't go from the 8 though, go from the original. So how do I get from 4 to 24? I multiply by 6. So I'm going to take the number of cats, the original number of cats, and multiply that by 6. So 6 times 6 is 36. So if there were 24 dogs, there's 36 cats. So you're just figuring out what you would multiply or divide the original number by to get what they're talking about. So there's always going to be something given. Like here it was 12. We got to figure out what times 6 is 12 and multiply it by the other number. What times 4 is 24 and multiply the other number. Just remember, you always go back to the original. Okay, so let me give you one to try. So I want to see if you could fill out these 2 for me. Always start with your original, so figure out what they're multiplying 5 by to get 10. Multiply 2 by that number. Figure out what they're multiplying 2 by to get 6, and multiply 5 by that number. Always go back to the original. So try A and B for me. This is called making equivalent ratios using ratio tables. So see if you can figure those out. So now we're going to try a real world problem, but we have to create our own ratio table because they don't have one for us. So let's take a look. Oops, let me see if I can move this out of the way. Okay, doesn't want to move. All right. So you are making a juice drink. The directions on the can of juice concentrate indicate to use 6 parts of water for every 1 part of juice. So here's what I do. I just draw a big square and cut it into 4s. So right down the middle and right across the middle. I'm going to put a, what are we doing? Water and juice concentrate. So I'll put a W for water and a J for juice. So it says you can use 6 parts of water. So put the 6 with the water for every 1 part of juice concentrate. Okay, you use 24 cups of water. So think of where on your chart that's going to go. 24 cups of water is going to go on top with the water. How much juice do you need? So now we made our own ratio table. So we have to figure out what times 6 is 24, which is 4. Oops, so we're going to multiply the bottom number by 4. And we get 4 cups of juice concentrate. So if we want to quadruple the recipe, you would need 24 cups of water with 4 cups of juice concentrate, and it would taste exactly the same, but you would have 4 times the amount. Okay, so let me see if you could try one. So you're going to make it by drawing 4 squares. Label the 2 on the I put the labels on the left. Fill in the given information. Figure out where that 3rd number goes. It's going to go next to one of your labels, and then figure out what you would multiply or divide by. Okay, so let's give you one to try. All right, so I'm going to have you try this one. I'm not sure why it's so itty-bitty, but let me try and get you started here. So it says, you are making sugar water for your hummingbird feeder. A website indicates to use 4 parts of water for every 1 part of sugar. You use 20 cups of water. How much sugar do you need? So I'll help you out, but I want you to finish the rest. So draw a chart, break it into 4, label it. So we are talking about water and sugar. So put a W for water, S for sugar. Now see if you can figure out the rest. So telling you 4 parts of water for every 1 part of sugar. So figure out where the 4 and the 1 go. Then it says you're using 20 cups of water. So figure out where the 20 would go. And then figure out what you would multiply or divide by to get the missing number. Okay, so see if you could finish that one. So here's an example where you need what I call the middleman. So let me show you what type of situation that you would know that you need to do this. Okay, it says the nutrition facts label on a box of crackers shows that there are 240 milligrams of sodium in every 36 crackers. you eat 15 crackers, how much sodium do you consume? So I'm going to start by doing the 4 squares. Now this one's a little bit trickier, so make sure you're watching with me with this one. Okay, so I'm doing sodium in crackers. So I'll put an S for sodium and a C for crackers. It tells me there are 240 milligrams of sodium in 36 crackers. Okay? Now it says you eat 15 crackers. So if I put the 15 here, here's the issue. So let me show you when you have to do what I call the middleman. There's nothing that I can multiply or divide 36 by to get 15. It's not going to go in evenly. So this happens rarely, but in the situation where it does, you have to do what I call the middleman. So here's what that means. You need to add one more row. Okay? And then you need to do what I call making the unit rate. So what happens is you take the bigger number out of the 2 and you divide it by the smaller number. And you're probably going to get a decimal answer, and that's okay. So on the side here, I'm going to do 240 divided by 36. I'm actually just doing this in a calculator to save time, but so I get 6.7. So that means that the 1 is going to go here and 6.7 is going to go here. So the answer you get goes next to the bigger number. So I did 240 divided by 36, and I got 6.7. That number goes next to the original, the bigger number. 1 goes in the other one. This tells me that 1 cracker has 6.7 milligrams of sodium. So now it says you eat 15 crackers. Now I can put my 15 here. Okay? And now I have one more step I have to get from 1 to 15 by multiplying by 15. So I have to multiply the top number by 15. Okay, so I'm going to do that on a calculator just so I don't run out of taping time here. But 6.7 times 15 equals 100.5. So I'm just going to round it to 101. So that means if you have 15 crackers, you're having 101 milligrams of sodium. So just to recap, the only reason why I had to do what I call as the middleman is because this number, the original number they gave us, didn't go in evenly to the final product which they wanted us to have, which was 15. So if that's the case, you add one more row, you divide both of these by the bigger number, so 240 divided by 36 gives you 6.7 on the top, 1 on the bottom, or depending on where you put the bigger number, if the bigger number is on the bottom, put your answer on the bottom and the 1 on the top. And then you can use that to solve. So let's see the bottom one, and now it says you eat 21 crackers. So instead of using the original 240 and the 36, I'm going to use what I got from my middleman, because that's going to make my life a lot easier. So I'm going to do S for sodium, C for crackers, but now I'm going to write that 1 cracker has 6.7 grams of sodium, or milligrams of sodium. So now it's saying that we want to know how many would be in 21 crackers, so that's going to go here. And now I could do 1 times 21 is 21, so I'm going to do 6.7 times 21. So I'm going to do that on my calculator. 6.7 times 21 equals 140.7. I'm going to round it to 141. Okay? So that means if you have 21 crackers, you're eating 141 milligrams of sodium or salt. Okay? So this middleman only occurs if the numbers that they give you don't divide evenly into the numbers that they want you to have. You just have to do this one extra step called the middleman. All right? So let me see if I can give you one of these to try. All right, so I'm going to help you start this, but then I want to see if you can finish it on your own. So it says you mix 3 pints of yellow paint for every 4 pints of blue paint to make green paint. So let's start by doing our 4 squares. Okay, and then fill in what we know so far. So it's telling us 3 pints of yellow, so put a Y for yellow, for every 4 pints of blue, so we'll put a 4. And it says to make green paint, you use 10 pints of blue paint. So if I were to put the 10 here, notice that 4 does not go into 10 evenly. So that is telling you that you need to do a middleman. Okay, so I'm going to erase that and add one more column. Okay, and then put the 10 at the very end of that column. So you have to do a middleman. So what you're going to do is you're going to do 4 divided by 3. You're going to get a decimal answer. But the answer that you got next to the bigger number here, and a 1 on top, and then use that to see if you could solve the rest. Okay, so this is the last one. See if you could figure it out.